Thank you. Now at 7, the Georgia Supreme Court will soon decide whether this man, Daniel Smith, will get a brand new trial. Smith was convicted of killing his infant son more than 20 years ago.
He could have been freed, but he declined a plea deal that would have required him to admit guilt.
Atlanta News First investigative reporter Andy Parati has been tracking this case for years and learned Smith's appeal is centered around brand new science.
Here I am 20 years later, back in your courtroom.
Daniel Smith pleads with a Gwinnett County judge this past April to grant him a new trial, more than 20 years after he's sentenced to life for the murder of his infant son.
I'm not a murderer. I killed my son, Chandler.
5 months later, his request denied.
It's very disappointing, very disappointing.
Latasha Pyatt is Danielle's fiance. Throughout her home, symbols of hope.
Bam, welcome home.
A house full of his favorite things Danielle has never seen. Clothes, cologne, and even a car. We first met Latasha 2 years ago. The closet storing her wedding dress has changed, but not her commitment to a man she's never known outside prison walls. They met nearly 10 years ago, engaged for those years, with no certainty she'll ever walk down the aisle.
I met Danielle July 3rd, 2015. I didn't blink then. I'm not blinking now. And you don't give up. You just don't throw your hands up and give up, especially when you know somebody's innocent.
Latasha knows what a lot of people are thinking. Why is she in a relationship with a convicted murderer with no guarantee he'll ever be free from behind bars? Her response? Look at the evidence. In 2003, a Gwinnett County jury convicted Danielle of murdering his 2-month-old son, Chandler. The state's medical examiner ruled the boy's death a homicide caused by blunt force trauma. Prosecutors told the jury it was a shaken baby case.
We're the experts in the brain, not the child abuse pediatrician.
Dr. Saeed Ghatan is a pediatric neurosurgeon at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. He and 7 other medical experts testified on Danielle's behalf this past April during a hearing requesting a new trial. After reviewing the child's medical records, the doctor believes Chandler didn't die from shaking, but likely from trauma during birth.
And it's not suggestive of abuse.
Dispatch records show 2 weeks before Chandler's death, his mother called 911 after she thought the child was coming in and out of a seizure. Chandler was born premature at 36 weeks. Paramedics dismissed her concern, saying the baby was just having hiccups.
This looks nothing like somebody who was abused. It looks like somebody who had hypoxic ischemic brain damage.
While the judge denied Danielle's request for a new trial, the Georgia Supreme Court recently gave him a second chance, agreeing to hear his case later this year to determine whether he deserves a new trial based on the new expert medical testimony.
Remain seated, come to order.
While Danielle and Latasha wait for the Georgia Supreme Court's ruling, he could be free today. In 2023, the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office offered him a rare deal to go home. But there was a catch. He had to plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter and admit guilt. Danielle refused. Here's what he said in court in April, before he knew the judge would deny his request for a new trial.
I asked myself if I could live with that decision for the rest of my life. The answer to that question was no. Only a guilty man will plea out.
Does he regret not taking that plea deal?
No.
Do you wish he would have taken it?
No.
He'd be here today.
He would. But you know what? He would be here today on parole. Everywhere that he goes, he would have to ask them for permission. It's like he's still in prison.
Wow, and Andy is here with us in studio. Andy, what are the next steps in this case?
So we reached out to the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office. They declined to discuss this case, but it will have to put its response in writing to the Georgia Supreme Court within the next 20 days. If the court grants Danielle a new trial, the county judge who originally denied his request won't preside over the case. He retired last year. Andy Parati, Atlanta News First investigates.